Hello my friends, welcome to Grace in My Space. Today I am so excited. We're gonna do some thrifting. I'm gonna show you my thrift haul and then we're gonna upcycle all of these pieces. I got some goodies. I don't usually have a lot of success thrifting. I usually do more antiquing, but I stopped into 2 different thrift stores today and I came home with 5 things and that never happens, but I'm gonna upcycle almost all of them. Starting with this lamp. There is a bit of a crack in the ceramic or pottery, whatever it's made of, and it also smells very strongly of vinegar. We sat it outside in the sun for a good long time to help bleach that smell out of it. The lampshade is fairly icky looking, but overall, the shape is fantastic. The shade is proportionately sized, and it was only $7. So I'm gonna upcycle this to look like a modern day, modern cottage style lamp. And we're also gonna do that for a few other items. This sucker's really heavy. I also got this, which is really beautiful in pristine condition. It is a vase, I believe, but it's so dark inside that hole that I can't see how deep it is, so let's test it.
It's not deep.
It's not deep?
No, it's just, it doesn't, like, the big fat base doesn't even have any holes in it. It just goes down to the base.
Just to here?
Yeah.
Owen says it's not deep. Let's see.
See?
Well, that's pretty deep. I mean, that's deep enough to hold a little bundle of stems and be cute. So I'm gonna use this one as is. No upcycle needed. It was $5. I also got this mortar. It didn't have the pestle. It's not antique, I'm sure, but it's solid marble and it's really beautiful, and I have a fun idea for this one. And then this little footed bowl is not really my style, honestly. It's a little bit too, I don't know the word, so we're gonna see what we can do to make this more my style, and it's really gonna be an experiment because I have no plan. Now for the lampshade, I wanted to make it a pleated lampshade to bring in more of those cottage vibes and add some pattern in the living room. So I went to the fabric store and I got this really beautiful fabric. I had no idea how much I would need, so I bought 4 yards. It was half off. So I figure if I have extra, then at least I'll have the ability to maybe like make a pillow cover or something with it. Who knows? The options are limitless. It's really pretty. I want to do the lamp base in like a dark green, almost like a muddy green. And so the green within this pattern looks really nice. The only thing that I was a little nervous about buying this was that it's a very straight lined pattern. And with the shape of my lamp, it's a little bit gonna be on an angle. And so I didn't know how this would work, if it would drive me nuts if the pattern didn't line up right or if it looked a little crooked, because we're going from this shape to a straight line pattern, but I'm pleating it. So we'll see how it turns out. I could technically maybe try to just do one of these and cover it flat, but I really don't know anything about sewing, and that feels more intimidating to me than the pleating does. But it's a possibility. I mean, if all else fails and I'm like, man, this was a very poor choice, then I can go to this option. So the shape of this is fantastic, but the pattern on it screams dated. So I want to get rid of all of that texture without actually losing all the texture, so I have a plan. Now, when I saw this in the store, the kids were kind of like, Mom, why are you buying this? It's ugly, it's got a crack in it, the shade is dirty. But there is always possibility in thrifted finds. And so I'm just going to take some joint compound and smear it all over the place without any rhyme or reason. Really, all I want to do is fill in these wavy lines and kind of remove some of that dated look.
and make it more of just a plaster looking piece. And so I started this. I kind of played around with a few different methods of applying, and none of them really seemed to make much of a difference. And so I said, this sounds like a perfect opportunity to invite my daughter into the process because she really loves arts and crafts. And so I put her on the task of adding the joint compound, and she had a lot of fun with it. We ended up doing one thin coat and then letting that dry, and then adding a second thin coat to fill in some of the gaps, and then sanding it kind of smooth but not completely smooth to just maintain a little bit of that texture. Then I got to making my pleated lampshade, and I have never done this before, but I had a bit of a plan going in.
Now I cut these two different ways because I started cutting one pattern, and then I realized that the fact that I'm folding these over to become pleats would mean, if I did that, that I would never see those little cute flowers in a whole section because it would be like this. So I decided that I'll do every other one, and I alternated a second stack so that when I fold it in half, the flower is the center point rather than the white X thing, whatever that is. And then you'll see both patterns, and hopefully it'll look right, okay? It's just a hope and a dream is how we work here. Now you can keep them folded like so, and they'll be a little fluffy as pleats, but I'm actually gonna iron them flat for a little bit more of a polished look. And I think that that will go a long way in keeping the pattern where I want it as well.
Now, I did read and watch a couple of tutorials from other people who have done their own pleated lampshades, and the easiest route looked like it was to fold over your fabric and hot glue it to the shade. But all of the tutorials that I watched were people doing very small lampshades, and this one is extremely large. And so as I discovered as I went, that causes a little bit of a problem.
So I started here and it was pretty straight up and down, and as I've gone around, it's definitely done this more than I kind of anticipated. So my next half, I'm having to make my pieces longer. I don't know if I tried to do it like straight and that didn't look right. So just the shape of this is making the turn of it a little bit more difficult. And then I kind of had thought that this would make my pattern show a little bit more, but the way that it's turning is not really letting me do that. And so I thought, well, maybe I should have just kept it all the same pattern, but when I do that, it doesn't show the X. So it was like I could either do every other like I've been doing and get only the flower, or I could do just the X. See how much this is turning now? And get only the X, which I didn't like that because you don't see the flower at all. So I think if I would have done this over again, I probably would have done only the flower, but I'm halfway through, so it's a little too late to switch gears now. And so it'll just be a little bit more geometric than I was originally thinking, but it'll still be cute.
Now you leave a little bit of an overlap on that fabric, and then you just cut it off so that you have enough left to fold it over and create a hem on the bottom and the top, and then hot glue that right down. I also didn't really love how unfinished those jagged edges looked, so I cut a new piece, folded it over, ironed it, and then I used that single piece to completely wrap the bottom and the top on the inside of the shade and hot glued that down so that it covered all of the jagged pieces of the pleated portion and made it look a little bit more finished. This actually helped quite a lot in just making it look nice at the end of the day.
Now, I feel like this is a little bit of an optical illusion because I struggled immensely to make the pattern work with the way that the shade flows out. So what I started right here. And I was kind of going straight for a while, but then it was like overlapping funny. So then I started going at an angle. But then the further that I went, in order to make it pleated and overlapped correctly, I had to start angling it like further and further long ways until finally it was pretty much completely sideways right here. It's like basically completely sideways, and then I had a big gap, so I just did some straight lines to match up with where I started. But I actually think it kind of makes it unique, and it's super cute, and I'm going to be fighting hot glue strings for the next 30 years, but I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. Now, if you have ever pleated a shade before, I would be very interested in tips, tricks, completely different ways that you've done it that was more successful to get an even pattern with this style of shade. I think a drum shade where all the sides are just straight up and down would have been way easier. But if you have done this style shade before, drop in the comments some tips and everybody can learn from not me. Now for that large shade, I ended up using just under 3 yards worth of fabric. So I only have about a yard left, which I'm actually really kind of surprised it took that much fabric. But when you factor in you're folding each 3-inch strip in half, and then it got longer as I went around the edges. But I have plenty of fabric left now if I want to make like a coordinating pillow or something cute to go on the sofa.
Now, once the joint compound was dried and I had sanded it to the texture that I wanted, I decided to take a bunch of leftover paint and come up with kind of that muddy green color that I wanted. I used the same green that I used in my dining room built-in, and then I added a touch of brown to it, and then I'm adding baking soda, which is a little bit of an odd addition, but it gives the paint some texture and it makes it so that you're not just putting a smooth or shiny look onto something that you want to look more like a plaster piece. And then I am just going to do a cross pattern and kind of just fill in those gaps as much as possible. With the baking soda, you kind of just add until you get the texture that you want. It doesn't really have a simple formula. I just wanted it to look a little bit gritty and not a smooth surface. And so I dabbed it on, and that helped remove any brush strokes. And then you're just left with whatever texture was left behind after you sanded your joint compound. So this is really customizable. You can really make it look however you want with whatever kind of texture you want. I really love that it's a matte finish. It has a little bit of that uneven plaster look, but it's also not a shiny new look either. Even though the pleated shade was a challenge and it's not all straight, I actually still really like it and think that it turned out really cute. Now, this piece is so beautiful. It really could just be a standalone. Just pop it right up here and call it good kind of a situation. I could also try and find a pestle for it from a thrift store, or I could grab like one that I literally have in the drawer and pop it in there and make it a complete set. But I thought, why not make it super cute with this little plant, which the store did not know what it was called. She called it a coffee plant. She also seemed severely underconfident about that name. So if you know what kind of plant this little cutie is, drop it in the comments. I would be curious to know so that I know how to care for it. Because she was kind of like, oh yeah, it likes moist soil. It was very questionable whether or not she knew what she was talking about. But I am gonna take it because it's so teeny tiny petite, and I'm gonna pop it right in here so that you can take it out and water it and let it drain and then put it back in, because I don't wanna put a plant into a marble vessel like this that has no drainage. It would, number one, kill the plant, and number two, not be good for the marble. So in something that you can take it out and water the plant, and then look at how cute that is. It's such a simple little addition to put a teeny tiny plant somewhere, like an open shelf, into something that's different than your regular old pot. And I love how that looks. Now this footed bowl is not my style, but a lot of the reason behind that is because I don't really love an aged terracotta look, especially one that's plastic and not real terracotta. I feel like real terracotta that's aged is really beautiful and has gorgeous patina, but this one's clearly fake. So I decided to use a mineral paint, which is kind of an interesting finish, almost like a chalky look when it's dry, and made it look like pottery without very much effort at all. And then I just divided this plant that really needed some help and some vibrancy brought back to it. Now I kind of realized a little too late that all of my thrifted finds turned into pots this time. But that's a perfect little cute planter that you don't normally see. And this one turned out really cute, though the plant needs to have time to recover from being divided and manhandled a little bit too roughly when I was dividing it from the large plant that I had. But I think that it just is such a cute idea. It cost me $5 for this pot, but there are no other pots that look like this that you have turned into a planter. It's just a really easy way to upcycle something that somebody else was tired of, change it to look more your style with simple paint, and then have it be something unique that you can put some life into your room with. It really is amazing how much a color can change how something looks. Now what I need to do is get like one of those clear disc saucers to put under this for drainage, because I did drill a drainage hole in the bottom of this. But for now I have this and it does not look right. I understand. But it's still gonna go up here so that it doesn't damage my wood mantle as the watering kind of leaks out of it. So it's not a perfect system yet. The leaves, they're giving up one at a time. We'll see how it goes. For this piece, it is so beautiful. And I tried to look it up because my husband and I were having an argument, it's just a little one, over whether or not this is wood or like a plastic mold of some kind, because he was saying, how in the world did they turn that and hollow it out on the inside? But it looks turned to me. So I did some research. These were popular in the 70s, and everything that I found said that it could be either solid wood, I found other ones just like it, or it could have been like a lamp base, but I don't think that's true because there's no hole for electrical cords to go through, and they would not have been able to fill that and I wouldn't be able to see it. So I'm gonna go with the theory that it's solid wood. Aaron thinks that it's a plastic mold made to look wood, but there are no seams. So I guess we'll see who's right when all of you start weighing in and tell me. Wood? Ceramic of some kind? Plastic made to look like wood? Seems unlikely to me. I don't know. We'll see. Now this is one of those pieces that would look good really easily just about anywhere. Pop a couple of stems in it like I kind of showed at the beginning, or just leave it plain. I haven't yet decided what I want to do with this because I'm not upcycling it, I'm just using it as it is. It makes the most sense in my mind to put a few stems of flowers or greenery into it and have it be a really pretty vase. But I also think that there are other uses that you could do with it, like turn it into a lamp base with a rechargeable bulb, and I just would have to figure out how to attach the lampshade, because it would be really cute as a small little lamp. So I'm curious, what would you do with this piece? Drop it in the comments, and maybe you will inspire me to decorate it for my next video. Until that time, I think I'm just gonna pop it in here for a little filler and call it decorated. Sometimes that's just all it takes. Now I am really happy with how this lamp turned out. I know that it was a questionable experience watching me do it. There were some choices made that perhaps should have been thought through a little bit more, but the tapered shade just really threw me off as far as how to make the pleats lay the right way. In the end, it's a little eclectic. I'm still pulling strings off of it, probably will be for a long time to come, but I love how it works in the room because it has a little bit of the color scheme of the curtains. It has the greens that I like to bring in from just my overall home color palette. And it's a little bit of like a conversation starter because no one else has this lamp, which I especially love. Now I kind of feel like I'm already trying to plan what I could have done differently, how it could be changed in the future. I actually really love the color combo, but in the future, if I wanted to, it would be really easy to update that base to a black or a brown, or even go back to white for times that I want to lighten it up. And that versatility is one of the reasons that I like working with thrifted finds, because a lot of times if you go out and you spend $150 on something of this size, which is extremely realistic to buy a lamp for this size for $150 versus the $37 that I paid for it, I wouldn't ever want to do anything to it. I would want to just maintain its integrity because of my investment. But when I spend a lesser amount on something and I've already put my own spin on it, it makes it easier for me to do that again in the future if I tire of this look, to be able to say, I'm going to swap out that base color for any color that I want, and it does not devalue it because I've already redone it in the first place. So I kind of love how that mentality shift happens in a thrifted home.
Thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed seeing just a few really affordable thrifted items, upcycled, especially the lamp. The lamp cost $7. I paid $30 in fabric, even though I definitely didn't need that much. And there's no way I would have gotten a lamp like this for $37 in the store. It's huge, it's beautiful, it's got character. I love how it turned out. And even better, it's the only one of its kind ever anywhere. I really like having unique things in my house. I will go out and I will buy things from Amazon or Target or whatever and have cute things in my house that anybody else can buy too. But I really like having unique pieces that I've created myself that add character to the home and have a story behind them. And have a story behind them. Let me tell you what, it's real hard to film in your own home during summer break. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next week.